Okay, so today's the day. We're gonna put the engine back in. We got our set here on the harness, and good thing I did block it up last night. So if it came down to squash the water pump because it did go down overnight. So that's all done. This shouldn't be that bad. Putting an engine in the car though, you never know what you're gonna get. So we have everything tied back up out of the way. We have all the wiring up out of the way. The fuel line, we have a piece of tape over. We need to take that off though. And we have the AC line, same way, taped up, all that back out of the way. So the plan is to guide this thing in here, get this transmission line in the right spot. It's still hooked up, and get that engine mount on that stud, and that one actually has a bolt. So we're gonna leave the engine mount off the driver's side when we put it back in. See, so we can clear it. It's gonna be able to clear the steering. All the exhaust and everything's on there. We're going to clean up the nub on the torque converter. We'll put some grease on it, so hopefully that lines up. We're gonna try to get the engine mount, the mounts lined up. Surprised I didn't lose that. We're gonna try to get a couple bell housing bolts in and the torque converter bolts in first. Once we do that, we know we're good with that. Then we can start hooking everything up. It shouldn't really take that long. Okay, we're about an hour and 15 minutes into this. The engine's in. We have all the bell housing bolts in. We don't have the torque converter bolts in, but it's lined up, right? So once I drop the first one, we can turn it over a little, and tighten it down. You tighten down the motor mount bolts. They're in. They're just not tight. They're ready to start assembling everything else, which is not really that much stuff to reassemble. It'll probably take a little longer to put the front bumper and everything on than it will to hook that stuff up. There's not many wires to this car. Okay, so this should be one of the most complex engine swaps you could do, being all-wheel drive, being N52, everything's made tight. But to be honest with you, there's a lot of differences. You have magnesium block, aluminum heads, the bell housing bolts are aluminum. Now, it kind of went right together. You don't see that on a steel block or even aluminum block cars, because they always have pegs where they line up to the bell housing. They're always corroded. When you go take them off, they're always seized in. This one had none of that. This one just came right off. There was no problem at all. Once you got the oil pan over the cross member, it just pushed right on. And you know, with a little wiggling here and there, it just snapped right on, right together. That's pretty rare. I mean, the magnesium block has some advantages by using those aluminum bolts in different parts. So we need to get our sling out. It's probably getting pretty crusty. Probably need to remove that next and make sure it's not bound up anywhere. I would say overall in the very end, we did hook it to the hook at the very last minute to lift up, to line our motor mount up. It took me longer to put the motor mount on than it did to put the actual engine in and bolt up the bell housing. Now, we can't forget, we still got to put our starter on. We have two starters. We're just kind of rolling the dice. I mean, you don't know which one's going to go out first. They both seem to work fine. Well, the one did. The engine coming in, we don't know. So we'll just eeny, meeny, miny, moe that one. And, I mean, overall, yeah, it was pretty freaking easy, I have to say. I wouldn't mind doing it again. Let's be honest here, I'll probably have to do it again, probably sooner than later, on a different car. Hopefully on a different car, hopefully not on this one. Yeah, so not bad. So we'll just keep working here, assemble all this little stuff. We're going to try to get it to where we can start it before we put the crash bar and the bumper and the headlights and everything in. But I do want to hear it run before we reassemble everything. So what we're going to work at now is getting all the mounting hardware finalized and everything hooked up and started. Okay, so we got the new water fitting in, coolant fitting, and here's the old one. You can see it's just turned like the cardboard, and it's all busted out. So that came with a new clamp. We have OEM clamps, so we're going to do that. We just took our little Dremel here and cut the old clamp off, and we have, you've probably seen me use this before. It's a Dremel with like a flexible head on it, and it has a fiberglass reinforced cutting bits for it. And it works real good for stuff like that. No issue at all. That is stainless, so it cut it right off, no problem. We're gonna go and reinstall that. We're going along pretty quick with this, so we gotta do that. Next, we're gonna put the intake manifold back on. We got the starter put in. All that's all hooked up. I need to plug the little plug in before I forget. It really isn't that much to do. We just cannot forget to put oil in it before we start it. That's gonna be a stopping point of the whole process, no doubt. So we'll do that. We'll hook the wires up over here. That won't take 5 minutes. We're not going to worry about the AC lines until we know the car runs, and then we need to put the belt on. We don't even have to even put the belt on to start it. In fact, we won't put the belt on to start it. And yeah, the only thing I see here on the front we're going to have to do before we start this thing, well, we're almost going to have to put the radiator and the power steering loop back in the front. If we don't do that, as soon as we start it, it's going to blow fluid everywhere. But other than that, we're touring along real good. We're cleaning up everything as we go, every fitting. We're make sure and using that non-petroleum lube all the hose fittings, and it should not be that long. We have everything here to finish this. We could finish it tonight, probably in the morning. I need to run to the store and get some stainless steel bolts for those collectors, bolts and nuts, and do that, but we're getting pretty close. Okay, so we made some pretty monstrous progress. It's getting pretty late. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Everything went really good, which concerns me. Usually it doesn't. So we're down to, we need to put the throttle body boot on. Probably won't put the air box on. You can plug that in. We need to, before I can start it, I don't have to hook up the coolant lines. I mean, I can unplug the pump, but the power steering stuff is gonna be a problem if I don't sort that. And that is attached to the condenser, right? So I need to at least put that in, or need to at least hold that up to here and plug those in. Need to put the belt on for getting further. We gotta remember to put oil in it. Other than that, the battery's junk in this thing. I'll swipe the battery out the 530. Whoops. And that should be more than good. I want to be able to hear this thing run, and then once it runs and it sounds good, then we'll go ahead and put the CV axles back in. We'll put the drive shaft, the new drive shaft in, which is right there. Got that off eBay. It was like $110, I believe. Same length, same drive shaft. Both these joints are good. So that should work. I'm just trying to, I mean, I could rush through it. I could already be done by now. I'm trying to put every bracket on, everything on right, you know, make it as right as I possibly can. I think we're getting there. So once we get it started, if it's good, it'll take me a little bit of time to reassemble this front end, probably a good hour. And once we reassemble that, I mean, maybe we're ready for a test drive. So let's go ahead and see. All right, so we got the radiator stuck in here. We got one more line to take off the shroud. That goes from there to right there. And the coolant system's sealed up, so we don't have to unplug the pump. Mainly we had to get the condenser in, so because the tranny cooler's on it, not the tranny cooler, the power steering cooler. And if I start it without that, the pump's hooked up, it's gonna blow crap everywhere. So hypothetically, I could have shortcutted it and not put the belt on, but I have faith this is gonna work, so we'll keep going. Next up, our CHF 11S power steering fluid. This is made by Pentison. So we got the, or how much it was, got a new reservoir which has a filter in it, and 2 pints of this. I think it was 30 bucks. It wasn't that bad. And rip that off of there. Jeez. Oh yeah, I mean that's like the good stuff, right? So all the power steering lines are on, everything's hooked up. We have to put some in this. We'll probably don't have to totally fill it. We need to put some in it though, because if we don't, we start it up, I have no idea where that funnel went. Anyway, we started up with the power steering dry. Has a real good chance of messing that up. I only hold a little over a quart. There we go. Once we start it up, it'll suck it all down. We'll probably put a little over one of these in total, which that's fine. That'll give us a little extra left over to keep on the shelf if we got to add T1. So I think we're all ready to start. Now, granted, the front axle isn't in. We'll screw that back on her for right now. And the CV axles are not in. Other than that, and our bumper's not on. Other than that, we just need to get a new battery, a good battery for it. We have one here. Maybe we'll leave that just kind of right there for right now. No. So we're going to steal the battery from the 530. I need to, since all we have for this, all I have for this car is the valet key. You guys getting motion sickness yet? We need to get the jump pack. I need to hook the jump pack to this terminal. That nut that holds that on is in the trunk, and the trunk's closed. So I'll get the jump pack on, hit the trunk button inside, change the battery out, and I forgot the trunk's full of parts too. And we should be getting very close. Everything else is in it. We do have a problem though. We have a problem with the power steering pump where the hard line screws in. It's the same pump. For some reason that fitting is different. It screws in fine, but the old pump that came off the old engine that mates to that line is a more shallow fitting. BMW, I don't know what you're doing or why you did that, but that caused me a lot of grief, so I got to pull the power steering pump back off. However, for the time being, all we done is took the belt off, make sure that's out of the way. That is out of the way. We stuck the battery in it. I don't know if it's charged or not charged or not. I don't know. I'm going to open the bay doors. I'm sure it's going to smoke like a sieve. We have no coolant in it, but all lines are hooked up except for the little top one. So we'll just let it run for a second. We just want to make sure the engine is not knocking. So let me go ahead and open the bay doors. We'll get in it and see if we can figure it out here. So I guess the plan is, if it catches on fire, it doesn't have any front wheels on it. I guess if it catches on fire, in theory, we'll back Sequoia up to it, hook the strap to it, and jerk it out of the shop and let her burn. We'll just go buy something different. Alright, sounds like a good plan. We'll start it, let it run for a second, hopefully. I have no idea what kind of gas is in this thing. I'm sure it's probably like varnish and hard telling what else, so let's see. Spot. We'll hit her with the Audu jump pack. Showing it has like no fuel in it at all. don't see anything dumping out. Let me see if we got some fuel. In there. We won't spray with starting fluid yet. We'll give it just a minute. But if it has no fuel in it at all, I don't know if it's because it's jacked up in the front or what. Let's try it one more time. Alright, you guys' battery's low. Hope you're still recording. You're at 1%. Alright, so we'll charge the battery and be back in a minute. Well, I found the problem and it's not good. I mean, it's like really not good. Pulled the ECU out, we checked all the plugs, everything was good. Except when we opened it up. And yeah. And a lot of you guys might say, oh, that looks alright. You can see little stuff falling around inside there. There's actually little pieces, little resistors that are falling around, that are broken off. And that's probably what's going on. Had some water in the bottom of the old ECU box, which I don't see any of that right now. But I mean, it looks like something that wasn't done recently. Yeah, it's totally dry now. So I don't know. I mean, we've had that cowl out for a little while, but the top box is sealed. I've never seen any water in there. You know, it still has the top box has a rubber grommet that goes all the way around it. You can see right here. I don't think that was an issue. I think this was a prior incident. So yeah, this might get pretty costly. We still don't know if the transmission's good. So we're gonna have to try to find somebody to send this off to and have it reworked, if they can rework it. You know, it's not that bad. I mean, it doesn't work, but it's not like it's totally ruined. Well, I mean, maybe it is. So I don't know. I guess we're going to have to get on the old eBay and see if anybody's servicing these things and rebuilding them. Alright, just spent a few minutes looking. There is several places on eBay that rebuilds your module. Hopefully they could rebuild that. That's going to be the next thing. We can't just put a different ECU in it because our key's not going to work. It's not going to be programmed to anything. On an E39, you could do that with little effort. You get away with that. On this, it's too new. You can't do that. So that's going to be all for today's video. I'm going to get on the phone with these guys and sort this out. And hopefully, in a week or so, we can have this thing up and running. A little bit worried. I'm going to say it. I'm a little bit worried about it at this point. Alright guys, thanks for watching.